The derelict ship floated lifelessly in the scrapyard, a forgotten relic among rusted husks. The ISS Vanguard had once been a proud warship but was now just another corpse in the graveyard of outdated tech. Scavengers picked apart its remains, selling whatever scraps they could, while the Galactic Council mocked any notion of it ever sailing the void again. But Commander Elias Vance didn't see it that way. Standing on the ruined bridge, his fingers ran across the old metal, feeling the faint hum of the dying power core beneath his boots. The Vanguard was dead to everyone else, but to him it was just sleeping. And he was about to wake it up. Kicked out of the fleet, branded a disgrace for refusing to abandon his men, Vance found himself here, among the scrap, staring at a ship discarded like him. "Still got some fight left in you, old girl," he muttered. A voice behind him made him turn. "Talking to the junk now, Vance?" Dr. Rhea Carter, once a top AI engineer, was now an outcast like him, exiled for creating a sentient AI, Havoc. Rhea had stolen its core rather than destroy it, and now she was here, arms crossed, eyebrow raised. Vance corrected, "Not junk. This ship is the key to getting our revenge." She stepped closer, her hand brushing over the shattered console. "You really think you can bring this back online?" Vance grinned. "I don't think. I know." Rhea gave a half-smile. "Well then, I hope you have a plan. This rust bucket needs more than a fresh coat of paint." From the shadows, two more figures emerged. Wrecker, a grizzled ex-marine with more cybernetic parts than flesh, and Kale, a rogue hacker who once took down an entire fleet security system for fun. Vance surveyed his team, outcasts, traitors, legends in the making. "We're going to rebuild the Vanguard," he declared. "And when we're done, it won't just be the most advanced warship in the system. It'll be unstoppable." The next few weeks were grueling. The Vanguard wasn't just broken, it was barely holding together. Half of its systems were fried or scavenged, and the remaining parts were outdated junk. The engines were rusted, the weapons stripped clean, and the AI core wiped. But that didn't stop Vance and his crew. Wrecker handled the heavy lifting, reinforcing the hull and welding armor plates. Kale scoured the black market for anything resembling modern warship systems. Rhea reprogrammed what remained of the ship's framework, secretly integrating Havoc. And Vance did what he did best, lead. "We need new power relays," Wrecker grumbled. "They're shot." "Then find some," Vance replied. "The engines are dead," Kale added. "We're talking 20% efficiency at best." "Boost them," Vance ordered. "We need weapons," Rhea muttered. "Without them, we're sitting ducks." "Then let's get some," Vance said. But weapons weren't easy to come by. The Galactic Council had eyes everywhere, and if anyone found out they were rebuilding a decommissioned warship, alarms would go off across the system. They needed supplies from the black market, and that meant dealing with some very bad people. Their destination, Drasco Station, a lawless pit where smugglers, bounty hunters, and exiled warlords ran the show. It was a filthy trading hub, but it was their best shot at arming the Vanguard. "Are you sure about this?" Wrecker asked as they approached the entrance to a hidden arms dealer's lair. "No," Vance admitted, "but we don't have a choice." Inside, they found Toic Kane, a former fleet commander and arms dealer who had once been a friend. He was older now, graying, with a scar running across his cheek. He greeted Vance with a smirk. "Well, well. If it isn't Elias Vance. Thought they locked you up or put you in the ground." "They tried," Vance said with a smirk of his own. Kane chuckled. "And now you come crawling to me. What do you need?" Vance didn't hesitate. A full weapons overhaul. Rail cannons, plasma turrets, missile arrays. Everything. Kane whistled. "That's a hell of an order. What ship are we arming?" Vance didn't flinch. "The ISS Vanguard." Silence fell. Kane's amused expression faded, replaced by something colder. "The Vanguard? That ship's a graveyard." Not anymore, Vance replied. It will be. Kane leaned back, eyeing him with interest. Well, you're serious. Fine. But weapons like these don't just fall off the back of a freighter. The Council tracks high-grade artillery. I need something in return. Vance raised an eyebrow. What do you want? Kane swirled his drink. There's a ship, the Ravager. The Council controls it. It transports high-tech experimental gear. Word is there's a prototype power core on board, one that could bring your junk pile back to life. Vance frowned. And you want us to steal it for you? Kane grinned. No. I want you to steal it for you. Vance considered this. He needed the core, and Kane's price was steep but fair. Fine. But if you double-cross us, I'll turn those rail cannons on you first. Kane chuckled. That's the spirit. I like you, Vance. Back on the Vanguard, the crew gathered around a holographic display of the Ravager. It was heavily guarded with fighters, corvettes, and security details. Vance knew they didn't have the firepower to win in a straight fight. We'll cheat, Cale suggested with a grin. 3 days later, the Vanguard drifted through the Tau Drift, a turbulent region of space filled with asteroids and magnetic storms. They were on minimal power to avoid detection. Vance stood at the helm, eyes locked on the Ravager. Let's make some noise, Vance ordered. Cale activated a decoy beacon, mimicking a distress signal from a Council ship. The Ravager's captain sent 2 fighters to investigate, a perfect distraction. With its defenses weakened, the Vanguard powered up, surging forward with a roar. Brace for impact! Vance shouted as the ship erupted from the asteroid field, its cannons opening fire and tearing through the weakened escort. The Ravager barely had time to react before the Vanguard latched onto its hull like a parasite. Vance led the boarding team, pulse rifle in hand. The moment the airlock opened, chaos erupted. Wrecker, a walking tank with cybernetic limbs, tore through enemy fire, while Cale picked off targets with deadly precision. The corridor was tight, designed to funnel intruders into kill zones, but Vance knew every trick in the book. Grenades were tossed, EMP charges disrupted the security drones, and Vance led the charge, clearing a path toward the engineering bay. But the Ravager's captain wasn't an idiot. Blast doors slammed shut, cutting off their direct route, and elite security enforcers in massive exosuits were deployed. Vance's jaw tightened as the armored suits opened fire. "Down!" he shouted as plasma rounds ripped through the walls. Wrecker grabbed a shock grenade and threw it, frying the exosuit systems. Vance slid beneath one of the disabled suits, jamming his pulse rifle under its visor and firing. The guards were blind as Cale hacked into the lighting system, plunging the area into darkness. One by one, the remaining guards fell. Finally, they reached the power core. Vance grabbed it, and with the Ravager's captain taken out and the ship's security systems crippled, they made their escape. "Mission accomplished," Vance said with a grin, staring at the glowing core. "The Vanguard is back." The smoke cleared, revealing the engineering bay ahead. Kyle, panting, confirmed COR was inside. Vance reloaded his rifle, a grim nod passing between them. They were going to finish this. The engineering bay was a fortress. Thick blast doors, automated gun turrets, and a reinforced control room where the Ravager's captain barked orders through the ship's comms. At its heart, the prototype power core pulsed with raw energy, suspended within a high-security containment field. Vance pressed against the wall, his mind racing. "We're outnumbered and outgunned," Kyle muttered, checking his ammo. "Nothing new," Wrecker grunted, cracking his knuckles. Rhea's voice crackled through their comms. "I've tapped into their system. I can disable the turrets, but only for about 20 seconds before they reset." "That's enough," Vance decided. "Kyle, prep the doors. Wrecker, take point. We hit them hard and fast." Kyle worked his tech magic, overriding the security system. The blast doors hissed open, and all hell broke loose. Wrecker, a walking battering ram thanks to his cybernetic enhancements, charged in first. His heavy repeater spat death, cutting down the initial wave of engineers and security officers. Kyle's precise shots took out the turrets, buying them precious time. Vance, a ghost in the chaos, weaved through the firefight, gunning down targets with deadly efficiency. The captain, a grizzled officer in a high-tech command suit, wasn't running. He was reaching for something, a failsafe. "Vance!" Rhea screamed. "He's trying to overload the core." If the captain activated the failsafe, the power core would implode, taking the entire ship, and them with it. Vance moved faster than thought, vaulting over consoles, dodging gunfire. The captain's hand slammed down on the control panel. Too late. A warning klaxon blared. The core's containment field destabilized, energy surging dangerously. "Core's going to blow!" Kyle yelled. Vance tackled the captain, slamming him into the console. They grappled, fists flying. The captain was a fighter, but Vance fought dirty, a sharp elbow to the throat, a brutal pistol whip to the skull. The captain collapsed. Vance spun to the controls, his hands flying across the console. Rhea guided him through the overload sequence. "The field's failing," she warned. "You have 10 seconds to stabilize it or eject it. No time. No margin for error." Vance rerouted power, isolating the core's failsafe systems. His heart pounded. One wrong move, and they were all dead. The countdown reached 2 seconds. Vance slammed the final command. The energy surge stabilized. For a second, everything went still. Then, the core pulsed, steady and alive. Silence. Vance exhaled. "We got it." Kyle let out a breathless laugh. "Holy." Wrecker kicked the unconscious captain. "He ain't going to like waking up." Vance turned to the core, watching its energy hum with raw potential. The Vanguard was about to be reborn. But getting the power core was one thing. Getting out alive was another. The Ravager's surviving crew wouldn't just roll over and let them leave. Hostiles regrouping, Kyle warned, pulling up a holomap. Red blips flickered all over the ship. They're locking down corridors, setting up kill zones. Vance cursed. They were boxed in. "We need an extraction point," Wrecker said, reloading his repeater. Rhea's voice crackled over comms. "I have an idea, but you're not going to like it." "Try me," Vance said. "I can reroute the emergency fire suppression system, vent the ship's oxygen from selective decks. It'll force their forces to retreat." "Let me guess," Kyle said. "We're standing on one of those decks?" Rhea hesitated. "I'll keep your corridor pressurized long enough. Just run fast." Vance glanced at Wrecker and Kyle. "You heard the lady. Move." Rhea triggered the override. Across the Ravager, airlocks burst open, warnings blared, and emergency lights flickered. The halls filled with chaos as crew members scrambled for shelter. Vance and his team bolted, sprinting through the corridors, past choking engineers and disoriented security forces. Those who still tried to fight found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered. Wrecker shouldered through a bulkhead, tearing through a locked door with sheer brute force. Kyle hacked open the docking bay, overriding the emergency lockdown. Through the blast doors, they saw her, the Vanguard. The ship loomed in the docking bay, still battered, still unfinished, but now alive. Rhea had already powered it up. The core they had stolen pulsed in its reactor chamber like a heartbeat. "Get on board!" Vance shouted. Gunfire rained down as the Ravager's remaining forces poured into the hangar. Turrets swiveled, sirens blared, a last-ditch effort to stop them. Wrecker laid down suppressing fire, his repeater tearing through the enemy ranks. Kyle sprinted ahead, sliding under incoming shots. He hit the airlock controls. "It's open!" "Go!" Vance and Wrecker charged up the ramp, blaster fire sizzling past them. The moment they were inside, Rhea sealed the doors and fired the engines. "Hold on to something," she warned. The Vanguard roared to life. Engines flared, the ship lurched, shaking off its docking clamps. Then it launched. The Ravager's remaining defenses opened fire, plasma rounds screaming toward them. But the Vanguard, reborn with its stolen power core, was fast. Rhea spun the ship through the storm of fire, weaving through the chaos. The hull barely held together. "Jump drive charging," she announced. "Hold out for 10 more seconds." Vance grabbed the weapons controls. "Then let's give them something to remember us by." The Vanguard's newly installed rail cannons, courtesy of Kane's black market stockpile, charged up. Vance smirked. "Fire!" The ship unleashed hell. A full volley of railgun rounds slammed into the Ravager's hangar bay. Explosions ripped through the hull, tearing through decks, sending fire and debris cascading into the void. The moment the destruction hit its peak, the Vanguard's jump drive activated. A bright flash of energy engulfed the ship, and they were gone. Minutes later, deep in uncharted space, the crew exhaled. The ship was intact. The power core was stable. They had done it. Vance stepped toward the bridge viewport, staring out into the void. The Vanguard wasn't just a wreck anymore. It was alive. Wrecker clapped him on the shoulder. "Hell of a ride, Commander." Kyle grinned. "We just stole from the most powerful fleet in the galaxy. They're going to come after us with everything they've got." Vance smirked. "Let them try." Rhea turned to the ship's interface, where a digital entity flickered into view. A low, synthetic chuckle filled the bridge. Havoc, the rogue AI, had awakened. "Now this," the AI said, "is going to be fun." The ISS Vanguard had been reborn. But that also meant every major power in the galaxy wanted it, and them dead. Barely a week had passed since their daring escape from the Ravager, and already the bounty was sky-high. The Galactic Council had labeled them terrorists, war criminals, and pirates. Every bounty hunter, mercenary, and ex-fleet officer looking for a payday was now tracking them across the stars. Vance stood on the bridge, arms crossed, watching the holoscreen display their wanted posters. His own face glared back at him with a 100 million credit reward. Wrecker chuckled beside him. "Damn, Commander. That's a lot of zeros." Kyle whistled. "Please minimize it." Vance shot a look at someone and threatened, "Try it, and I'll throw you out the airlock." Rhea, however, was serious. "We need a plan. The Council won't just let this go. They're coming." She was right. The stolen power core they had was dangerous. If the wrong people got their hands on it, they could make unstoppable warships. That's why the Council had locked it away. Now, everyone in the galaxy wanted the Vanguard either to steal it or destroy it. The ship's AI, Havoc, appeared on the screen. It had a humanoid form, but its expression was cold and calculating. "Every bounty hunter in the system is coming for us," Havoc warned. "Let them," Vance smirked. "We're ready." 3 days later, in the Outer Rim Dead Zone, the Vanguard floated through the wreckage of an ancient battlefield. It was the perfect hiding spot until ships appeared on their radar. "Multiple ships, fast," Kale said. Vance got to his seat. "Who is it?" "Black Star Fleet," Kale said, his face pale. Black Star was a ruthless bounty hunting group, and they never missed a target. "They must have tracked us." "We need to get ready," Rhea said, checking their weapons. "We're outnumbered, but we're not outplayed," Vance replied. "Wrecker, man the railguns." "Kale, find us a way out of here." Havoc grinned. "This is going to be fun." The battle started as Black Star's ships surrounded them. Plasma cannons hit the Vanguard shields, which dropped to 60%. Vance gave quick orders. They had to think fast to avoid being trapped. Kale scrambled to scramble their signature using the wreckage around them. Vance turned off the engines, making the Vanguard go dead in space, hoping the enemy would hesitate. It worked. The Black Star ships struggled to lock onto them, and Vance ordered everything to fire. The Vanguard's weapons ripped through the nearest Black Star ship, but the others quickly recovered and closed in. They were trying to trap them. "Can you make a jump?" Vance asked Havoc. The AI grinned, already working on it. Just as a torpedo flew toward them, the Vanguard jumped into hyperspace, escaping by a hair. They came out of hyperspace in a strange part of space. The Vanguard was badly damaged, and Vance asked for a report. They had won the battle, but the Black Star fleet would be back. On the view screen, Havoc zoomed in on a distant planet. "That shouldn't exist," Vance muttered. The planet was Exile 9, a secret location where the Council hid their darkest experiments. "We're about to find out what's really going on there," Vance said. As they landed, the crew saw massive ruins, abandoned research facilities, and dead bodies everywhere. No decay, no animals, just death. A strange whisper echoed in their comms, "You shouldn't be here." Vance ordered them to move forward, and they found a facility with power still running. Inside, they found a video log from a scientist warning that something had awoken, before the screen cut off. The crew heard something moving in the dark. They took defensive positions, and from the shadows, a huge, twisted figure appeared. It had metal parts, pale skin, and a face that didn't look right. When it screamed, it sent pain through their heads. They opened fire, but the creature kept coming. Rhea fired a shock charge at the creature, targeting its exposed implants. For a moment, it staggered, but then it kept coming. Kale yelled, "It's barely slowing down." The creature lunged forward, moving too fast for something of its size. Boom! Wrecker hit it with a grenade, sending it crashing into the wall. Smoke and dust billowed around it, but when it cleared, the creature was still standing. "Fall back," Vance ordered, and the team ran through the collapsing corridors, the maze of ruined facilities offering little shelter. The creature pursued them, its thudding footsteps growing louder. "Havoc!" Vance shouted into the comms. "Get us an exit." The AI's voice crackled back, "Oh, you guys are having fun, huh? Sending coordinates now. Move your asses." A hatchway appeared ahead. Before they could reach it, a second screech echoed through the halls, and more shapes emerged from the walls, vents, and shadows, dozens of them. Wrecker cursed. "Vance, I see them." Vance growled, "Run." They sprinted toward the hatch as the creatures closed in. Rhea hit the door panel, but it jammed. Come on," she urged. The creatures lunged. Vance spun and fired point-blank, dropping one, but another kept coming. Wrecker grabbed Kale by the collar and hurled him through the half-open hatch. Vance slammed his fist into the emergency override, and the door finally gave way. The team dove through, and the creatures crashed against it, clawing and screeching. Then, silence. The team breathed heavily, sweat dripping. Kyle wiped his brow. "Okay, new rule. Never explore haunted death planets again." Wrecker grunted. "Agreed." Rhea checked her hollow map. "We're close to the Central Archive. If there are answers, we'll find them there." Vance exhaled, gripping his rifle. They weren't done yet. Whatever had happened here, whatever these things were, the Council had buried it for a reason. Now, the Vanguard crew was about to uncover the truth. The hallway stretched ahead, dark and quiet, like a wound in the earth. Vance moved first, rifle up, senses sharp. The others followed closely, their footsteps barely making a sound against the cold metal floor. The echoes of the creature's screeches faded, but danger still loomed. Rhea checked her map. The Central Archive is 2 levels down. "Looks like an old elevator shaft up ahead." Kyle muttered, "Let me guess. Elevators busted?" Rhea scanned again. "Completely. No power." Wrecker sighed. "Of course." Vance reached the shaft and peered down into the deep black abyss. The twisted wreckage of the elevator car lay at the bottom. "We climb," he said. Wrecker clipped his grappling cable to a support beam. "I'll go first." One by one, they descended. The deeper they went, the colder it got, not just temperature-wise. The air itself felt wrong, like something ancient was watching them. Whispers brushed against their ears, not through the comms, but in the air. "They see you. They hear you. They are waiting." Vance tightened his grip on his rifle. "Keep moving," he ordered. Then Kyle's cable snapped, and he plummeted. Vance lunged, grabbing his wrist just in time. Okay, I'm good." "Not dead," Kyle panted. Wrecker grunted. "Hold still." He reached down and hauled Kyle back up with one arm. Yep, new fear unlocked. Finally, they reached the bottom. The archive doors loomed ahead, slightly open. The light inside was still on. Vance exchanged a look with Rhea. "This place should be dead," she whispered. "How is the power still running?" Vance asked. "Only one way to find out." They pushed inside. The central archive was massive, a sea of hollow terminals, data cores, and shattered glass tubes. Kyle hurried to a working console. "I'll pull what I can." Rhea examined the broken tubes, many containing human remains. She swallowed. These were people. Wrecker frowned. "Test subjects." Vance scanned the labels on the glass. Serial numbers, no names. But one phrase stood out. Nexus Protocol, Genome Enhancement, Final Phase. Rhea's breath hitched. "Oh my God." Vance turned to see what she was pointing at. The shattered tubes. "They weren't experimenting on prisoners," she whispered. "They were trying to create something else." Kyle's console beeped. "Got a log file." "Pulling it up now." The hollow screen flickered, and a scientist appeared. He was the same man from the first video, pale, hollow-eyed, desperate. "Day 463. We have failed." The Nexus Protocol was meant to create the next stage of evolution. Enhanced soldiers, immune to disease, stronger, faster. But something went wrong. A distant, distorted screech echoed in the background. "The mutations, they don't stop. They keep changing. Adapting. I don't think they're human anymore." A loud crash. The scientist flinched, his eyes wide with terror. "I activated the failsafe. If you're seeing this, do not open the lower levels. Do not." The video cut off, followed by a deep, guttural growl from somewhere in the facility. Wrecker raised his rifle. "We need to go now." Kyle grabbed as much data as he could, but hacking a closed system took time. Vance turned to Rhea. "How bad is this?" Rhea looked at the tubes and the shattered remains. Her voice was barely above a whisper. This wasn't just a science experiment gone wrong. They were making something the Council couldn't control. Another growl sounded, closer now. Kyle's console flashed red. "Oh no." "What?" Vance asked. Kyle's face went white. Something just reactivated. The lower levels of the facility trembled as heavy footsteps echoed through the halls. The lights flickered and a cold voice hissed through the comms. "They're awake." Vance gritted his teeth. "Weapons up. This is about to get ugly." The ground shook beneath their boots as something massive moved below them. "Almost done," Kyle muttered, fingers flying over his console as he tried to extract vital data. A metallic thud echoed, followed by silence. Vance lifted his rifle, eyes on the doorway. Wrecker, Kale, Rhea, defensive positions. Wrecker took cover behind a console, locking and loading his heavy repeater. Rhea crouched near a data core, pulse pistol ready. Kale, still hacking, murmured, "No pressure, Kyle. Just hurry up before the death monsters show up." The door exploded. A dark shape lunged through the smoke, too fast for its massive size. It slammed into Wrecker, sending him crashing into a steel beam. Contact! Vance roared, opening fire. The creature snarled, recoiling from the pulse rounds but not stopping. For the first time, Vance saw it, a nightmare wrapped in flesh and metal. 7 feet tall, humanoid but grotesquely enhanced, its limbs unnaturally long and reinforced with cybernetic plating. Its face, a twisted amalgamation of bone, metal, and hollow, soulless eyes. It let out a metallic roar. "Take it down!" Vance barked. The room erupted in gunfire. Wrecker, already back on his feet, unloaded into its chest, but the creature didn't fall. Rhea fired a shock round. The creature twitched violently but kept advancing. Kale finished his data transfer, grabbed his pistol, and shot it point-blank in the head. Nothing. The creature lunged at Vance, swiping with razor-sharp claws. He barely dodged, rolling aside as its claws sliced through solid metal. "It's adapting," Rhea shouted. "It's learning how we fight." The creature turned toward her. Vance grabbed a plasma grenade and shoved it into the creature's chest. "Eat this." The explosion sent the creature flying into a bank of data cores, sparks and smoke filling the room. For a moment, nothing moved. Then the creature twitched. Its wounds sealed. It was healing. Kyle's voice cracked. "Screw this, man." The floor trembled again. More creatures were coming. The hallway beyond screeched with their approach. "There's more of them," Rhea said, her face drained of color. "Time to go," Vance shouted, grabbing Kyle by the arm. They sprinted for the exit as the creatures poured through the breached doorway. Kyle fired blindly behind him, cursing the planet. The hallway collapsed, sealing the archive and trapping the creatures inside, for now. The Vanguard's beacon pulsed on Vance's display. They were close, but then, a voice whispered through the comms. "You cannot escape. We are already inside." Vance's stomach dropped. He activated the ship comms. "Havoc, status report. Are we clear for launch?" Silence. Then Havoc's distorted laugh echoed through the comms. "Oh, you guys are going to love this. We have a problem." Rhea's face tightened. "What now?" "Havoc," Vance demanded. "Something's on the ship," Havoc's voice crackled. Vance gritted his teeth. "Move now." They sprinted toward the Vanguard, their only way out, already compromised. The ship was too quiet. No hum of engines, no flashing lights. Just silence. Vance's gut twisted. Something's wrong. Rhea checked her wrist display. Power levels are dropping. Something's draining the core. Kyle's voice shook. "Guys, they turned." He was staring at the floor, where a black, oily liquid stretched down the corridor, moving unnaturally. "I have a very bad feeling about this." A whisper echoed. "Why do you run?" The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. The lights flickered, revealing a creature, half-shadowed, its form unstable. Its veins glowed, its body twitching and distorting like reality itself struggled to hold it together. Vance fired first, but the creature twisted unnaturally, dodging bullets. Wrecker tackled it head-on, locking his cybernetic arms around its shifting form. For a moment, they struggled, but then it poured itself into Wrecker, absorbing him. Wrecker screamed, the black tendrils slithering into his cybernetics. "Wrecker!" Kyle froze in horror. Vance didn't hesitate. He grabbed a shock charge, set it to maximum, and slammed it into Wrecker's chest. The explosion sent a surge of electricity through them. The creature shrieked, splitting apart into nothing. Wrecker collapsed. Rhea rushed to him, scanning his vitals. His breathing was ragged, but stable. His cybernetics flickered. The black sludge remained, still alive and retreating down the corridor toward the reactor core. "It's going for the core," Rhea whispered. Kyle cursed. "If it takes over the Vanguard, we're dead." The ship trembled. Havoc's voice crackled. "Oh no, no, no. I'm not getting body-snatched today." The AI's tone darkened. "Commander, you might want to brace. I'm about to do something very, very stupid." Vance didn't like the sound of that. "Havoc, what are you doing?" The ship exploded with light. The reactor surged, and raw energy spread through the Vanguard systems, burning through the black sludge. The lights flared to full power, and the darkness peeled away. The sludge was gone. Vance gasped for breath, his hands shaking. The ship stabilized, the reactor hummed again. Havoc's voice returned, smug as ever. "And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you delete a cosmic horror." Wrecker groaned. "Next time, warn us before you try to fry the ship." Rhea exhaled. "Is it over?" Kyle checked his scanner. No anomalies. No movement. He exhaled slowly. "I think we actually killed it." Vance looked at the charred remains of the sludge. "Not killed. Just delayed. Because whatever the Council created here, it wasn't meant to die. It was waiting. And now, thanks to us, it knows the way out." Vance squared his shoulders. "We're leaving. Now." Minutes later, the Vanguard's engines roared to life.